She was trembling, filthy, and digging through a billionaire's trash for food, when the back door swung open and his eyes met hers. No security, no screaming, just one question that shattered her pride. "Is this the first time you've gone this hungry?" That night, two broken strangers collided, and what happened next, no one could have seen coming. The city buzzed below like a living thing, neon, noise, life. But inside Lawrence Waltz's home, everything was silent. Polished marble floors, abstract art, ambient lighting that never flickered. Perfect, sterile, empty. Lawrence stood at the edge of his private balcony, hands in his pockets, jaw tense. His tuxedo was tailored to perfection, but his eyes looked exhausted, like a man who had built everything and still lost something he couldn't name. Earlier that evening, he'd stood on stage at a charity gala, holding a champagne flute in one hand and shaking donors' hands with the other, all smiles, all praise. "You're doing incredible things for the city's youth, Lawrence. A tech mogul and a philanthropist? Is there anything you can't buy?" He'd laughed politely, but inside it all felt hollow, performative, like everyone was there for the brand, not the man. Now, in the quiet of his estate, he loosened his tie and unbuttoned his collar. A half-empty glass of whiskey sat on the edge of the piano, untouched. He couldn't sleep, not anymore, not since the silence got so loud. Marian Anderson crouched behind a dumpster behind a bakery, her hoodie soaked from a drizzle that had started earlier. Her stomach groaned. She hadn't eaten since the day before, her fingers were numb. But worse than the hunger was the shame. She hadn't always lived like this. But when her mother passed, no relatives, no backup, life unraveled fast. She tried everything, shelters, jobs. They all either disappeared or slammed the door in her face. Now she walked streets she used to ride buses through, walked by restaurants she once cleaned dishes in. Only tonight, she felt pulled to a part of the city she'd never dared go before. The gated communities. One mansion caught her eye, not because of its size, but because of the overflowing trash bins outside. And the smell. There was real food in there. Marian's pride screamed, but her body didn't listen. Hunger had no dignity. She waited until the side street was quiet, then crept into the side alley behind the house, climbed a short wall, and reached for the bin. He heard something, a rustle, not from inside but outside. He froze. Security wouldn't be around back tonight. They rotated shifts. He moved quietly to the side door, unlocking it with a whisper of a click. And then he saw her. A young woman, wet, shaking, elbow-deep in his trash. Her eyes met his, hers wide, defensive. His stunned, curious, almost human. For a moment, time stalled. She yanked her hand out of the bin, eyes darting like a trapped animal. I wasn't stealing, I swear, I was just—" Lawrence stepped forward, calm, voice even. "Are you hungry?" Marian froze. Her fingers were clenched around a soggy sandwich half wrapped in foil, her back stiff like a deer caught in headlights. Lawrence stood just feet away, barefoot on stone, shirt unbuttoned, eyes sharp but not unkind. She expected yelling, maybe cops, definitely humiliation. But instead, he asked her again, slower this time, like he wasn't sure if it was the right thing to say. "Are you hungry?" Her stomach roared, betraying her. She looked down, then straight at him. "I'm not a thief," she said, her voice cracked. "I'm not trying to rob you. I needed something to eat. That's it." Lawrence didn't move closer. He just looked at her like she was something fragile, like a memory he hadn't seen in years. "I didn't think you were stealing." A beat passed. The drizzle started again. Soft, misty. Marian shivered. He glanced at her soaked hoodie, then back to the sandwich in her hands. "Wait here." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because no one should have to dig through trash for dinner." She stood frozen, debating whether to run, but curiosity won. Lawrence disappeared inside. Lawrence moved like a ghost through the sleek, state-of-the-art kitchen. His chef had gone home hours ago. He rummaged for something warm, real, something that didn't feel like guilt reheated. He made grilled cheese, soup, put it in a paper bag, even added a bottle of water and a clean towel. When he stepped back outside, she was still there, arms folded, skeptical. He handed her the bag. She stared at it like it might explode. "What's in it?" "Food. Clean." She took it. Her hands shook as she opened it, the steam fogging up the plastic lid. She didn't say thank you, but she didn't leave either. She sat on the low brick wall near the garden, eating quickly but quietly. Lawrence leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Then finally, between bites, Marion. He nodded once. "I'm Lawrence." A hollow chuckle escaped her lips. "Yeah, I figured. Rich guy house. Probably rich guy name." Lawrence didn't laugh. He just looked at her a little longer. "You shouldn't be out here like this." "You think I want to be?" she snapped, then softened. "I had nowhere else to go tonight." The words hung in the air like fog. For a long moment, neither of them said anything. She wiped her mouth with the napkin he'd packed, stood and tightened her hoodie. "Thanks for the food, but I'm not a charity case. I won't be back." She turned and walked toward the street. And yet, something in the way she said it told him she wasn't sure. If this moment made you feel something, even a flicker of ache or hope, don't just walk away like Marion almost did. Subscribe now, because the next moment, it only gets deeper. He sat behind his desk, the sun pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows, but his eyes were distant. The untouched reports in front of him blurred into a fog of numbers. He couldn't stop thinking about her. Marion. The way she held that food like it might vanish. The way she tried to leave with dignity, still clinging to her like wet clothes. She hadn't come back. He'd checked the security footage. No one at the gate. No movement in the alley. Just silence. She was curled up on a bench behind a gas station, hoodie pulled tight, arms crossed over her ribs. The warm meal from last night had long worn off, but the memory of it hadn't. She hated herself for thinking about that house, about him. Rich people didn't give without expecting something. She told herself that, over and over. Still, when her stomach growled, she found her feet carrying her back in that direction, just to walk by, just to look. Lawrence had left the gate slightly ajar, purposefully. When Marion saw it, her heart twisted. She stood there for minutes, debating. It's a trap, or a test, but her legs moved before her mind could stop them. She slipped through the gate. She froze mid-step when she saw him. "You left it open," she said. "I did." A pause, her fists clenched. "So what now? You gonna offer me a bed and a contract? Maybe post a video about it to go viral?" Lawrence's jaw tensed. "Do you really think I'd use you like that?" "I don't know what to think. I gave you food because you were starving." His voice was calm but firm. "And because I've been starving too. Just not the same kind." That silenced her. But pride is a heavy shield. Marion looked away, voice low. "I don't want your pity." He stepped forward. "It's not pity. It's shame. Mine." She blinked. "Shame?" He nodded slowly. "That I live in this palace while people outside my gate eat out of my trash. That I didn't know until you showed me." Marion stared at him, unsure whether to believe a word of it. Finally, she shook her head. "Don't do this. Don't act like you care." "Why not?" "Because if you do, I might believe you." Silence. The tension was thick enough to slice with a knife. But instead of staying, Marion turned and walked away again. Lawrence didn't stop her this time. He watched her disappear down the alley, shoulders squared, but he saw the way her hands trembled as she walked, the kind of rain that makes the streetlights blur and the sidewalks disappear beneath rivers of cold water. It was relentless, angry, heavy, and loud. Marion sat curled under a narrow awning behind an auto shop, knees to her chest, arms wrapped tight around herself. Her hoodie was soaked through. Her fingers wouldn't stop shaking. She hadn't eaten in almost 2 days. Every shelter was full, and she was exhausted, body, soul, and spirit. "Screw this," she whispered to herself, teeth chattering. She stood, wiped the water from her eyes, and started walking. He stood inside his home office, the glass walls fogged by the warmth of the fireplace behind him. He watched the rain, listened to it, hoped it would drown out the thoughts in his head. But it didn't. He paced, checked his phone, then the cameras. Then he saw something. A blur of movement near the side of the house. A familiar figure. Marion was huddled under the garden canopy, soaked to the bone. When he approached, she didn't look up. "You shouldn't be out in this," he said softly. Her voice was barely audible. "Didn't really have a choice." Lawrence looked at her, then at the storm raging around them. "Come inside." She didn't move. "I'm fine." "You're freezing." She looked up at him, eyes red but still proud. "I said I'm fine." Then her knees buckled slightly. He reached for her on instinct. She tried to pull away, but her body betrayed her. She was weak, dizzy. He wrapped his arm around her shoulders and guided her toward the house. She didn't fight anymore. Marion sat on the edge of the bed wrapped in a thick robe. A steaming mug of tea sat untouched on the nightstand. Lawrence stood by the door, giving her space. "You can sleep here tonight, just tonight." She nodded once. "Don't think this means anything," she murmured. He smiled faintly. "Wouldn't dare." He turned to leave, then paused. "I'll be in the next room, if you need anything." She didn't respond. He left. He couldn't sleep. Not with her in the house, not with the silence between them now thickened by shared space. For the first time in a long time she wasn't shivering, and for the first time ever, she felt safe in a stranger's home. She didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. Marion stirred slowly under the warm covers. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The softness of the bed, the faint smell of lavender detergent. It didn't belong to her world. Then she sat up, eyes darting. The mansion, Lawrence, the night before. She stood, pulled on her clothes, and crept down the hallway barefoot. The house was quiet, but something pulled her toward the open door at the end of the hall. Bookshelves lined the walls. Warm wood, dust motes dancing in sunlight. A grand piano stood near the window, untouched. Marion stepped in cautiously. Her eyes fell on a photo on the desk, a younger Lawrence smiling. His arm around a woman with long auburn hair, a little girl, maybe 5 or 6, giggling in a yellow dress. Marion picked it up gently. That was Emma. Lawrence stood in the doorway, mug in hand. No anger, just memory. "Your daughter?" she asked softly. He nodded, stepping into the room. She was light, and music, and trouble. His voice cracked, but he smiled. "She died 6 years ago. Car accident." Silence. Marion placed the photo down carefully. "And the woman?" "My wife. We divorced a year later. Couldn't survive the grief." He sat on the edge of the piano bench, staring at the keys like they might speak back. "I built everything I have after they were gone. Bigger houses, bigger company. But nothing ever felt big enough to drown out the silence." Marion stood still. She wasn't used to people opening up to her, not without wanting something in return. "You don't have to tell me this," she said. "I know," he replied, "but I want to." Another beat of silence. "What about you?" he asked gently. She looked away, jaw tightening. "Not much to tell." He waited. She swallowed hard. "My mom died when I was 15. Cancer. She worked 2 jobs and still smiled through chemo like it didn't hurt. After that, I bounced around. Group homes, couch to couch. I learned fast not to trust anyone who says they care." Lawrence looked at her then, not with pity but something else, something raw. "Is that why you keep walking away?" She didn't answer, just stared at the floor. Then, in a whisper, "Because if I stay, it might hurt worse when it ends." Lawrence stood, crossed to the piano. His fingers hovered over the keys. He played a slow, simple melody, fragile, like glass. Marion watched him, surprised. The music filled the room like a memory returning home. When it ended, he looked up. You don't have to stay forever, but you don't have to run yet either. A moment passed between them, no promises, just pain laid bare. And for the first time, they both breathed a little easier. Marion stood barefoot, sleeves rolled up, chopping vegetables with surprising precision. Lawrence leaned on the opposite counter, watching in quiet amusement. "You cook?" he asked. She smirked. "Grew up making one-pot meals. Mom said if you knew how to feed yourself, you'd never starve, even when the world forgot you." He nodded. Wise woman. Too wise. She would have hated your marble countertops, though. Lawrence laughed, genuinely. It was the first time she'd heard it. "You don't strike me as a tech mogul," Marion said between bites. "No lab coat, no awkward genius vibes." He raised a brow. "I'll try not to be offended." She grinned. "You just seem quieter than I expected, like you're always holding something back." He looked down at his plate. "Maybe I am." There was a long pause, comfortable, not tense. "You know," she said gently, "you're not the only one who lost someone." Lawrence glanced at her. She continued, "I used to pretend my mum was just on vacation, that she'd walk back through the door one day with Chinese takeout and bad news about work." Her voice trembled. "But when the mail stopped coming and her phone disconnected, I realized some goodbyes aren't loud, they're just gone." Lawrence's hand moved, slowly, just enough for his fingers to graze hers on the table. She didn't pull away. Lawrence guided her toward the keys. "Ever played?" She scoffed. "Does air piano count?" He chuckled. "Sit." She did. He placed her fingers gently on the keys. "Music's not about being perfect," he whispered. "It's about letting something inside you speak without words." She pressed a few shaky notes, off-key, clumsy. She laughed. And for the first time, he laughed with her. Not because the moment was funny, but because it felt real. "There," he said. "That smile. That's better than any symphony." As Marion turned to leave, she paused. "Thank you." Lawrence looked up. "For what?" "For not treating me like trash, even when I was literally in yours." He stepped closer. "You were never trash, Marion. You were the only real thing I'd seen in a very long time." She held his gaze for a heartbeat longer than before, then quietly disappeared down the hall. And upstairs, Marion smiled at the sound, eyes closed. For the first time in years, she didn't fall asleep with her arms wrapped around herself. She looked different. Not like someone playing dress-up, but like someone slowly remembering who she used to be before life got so cruel. She paused near the living room mirror and caught her own reflection. "Still you," she whispered. "Just cleaner." "Mr. Waltz." A young assistant, Brandon, stepped in, holding his phone. "There's something you should see." Lawrence took the phone. The headline made his stomach drop. "Billionaire Lawrence Waltz hides homeless woman in mansion. Mystery girl identified?" A blurry paparazzi photo. Him and Marion, in the garden, the night of the storm. Below it, a swirl of comments. "She's pretty. Gold digger vibes." "Is this a new PR move?" "Didn't know Lawrence had a type." "Another rescue story?" "Cute." His hands clenched around the phone. "Who leaked this?" Brandon shifted uncomfortably. "One of the groundskeepers. Sold the footage to a tabloid." Lawrence didn't answer. He just walked out. She saw it all. The photos, the comments, the speculation, but worst of all, the implication that her presence here was for show. A publicity stunt, a joke. "You knew, didn't you?" He looked up, startled. "What?" "You knew this would happen. You left that gate open. You knew someone would see. Marion, You wanted to play the savior, the billionaire with a heart. Look at you, saving the little black girl from the trash can. Nice headline." "Stop," he said, voice shaking. "That's not what this is." "Isn't it?" she spat. "You gave me food, a bed, and now the world thinks I'm your next charity project." He stepped forward. "No one thinks that. I didn't do this for them. I did it for you." "No," she snapped, eyes brimming with tears. "You did it for you." to feel like a better man, to fix something in you. The words hung in the air like glass about to shatter. And then she said it. You were just another rich man trying to feel less guilty. Lawrence's face went still. He didn't argue. He didn't defend. He just looked at her with something deeper than pain. I was trying to feel human. But it was too late. Marion grabbed her bag and stormed past him. I told you not to care. You should have listened. She left. No guard stopped her. No cameras flashed. Just silence. He sat alone in the piano room staring at the keys. But this time, he didn't play. The lights are dim. The hall's quiet. Lawrence sits at the grand piano, but not playing. His fingers hover above the keys, then fall back into his lap. A single plate of untouched food sits on the table. Across from it, an empty chair. The space Marion once filled now feels cavernous. He scrolls through his phone. No new messages, no trace of her. Then slowly he opens the note app, stares at a blank screen, types, deletes, tries again, but he doesn't send anything. She lies in clothes that no longer feel like they belong to her. The noise of crying, coughing, and creaking beds surrounds her. A young girl in the bunk above whispers, "Miss Marion, you okay?" Marion doesn't answer. She pulls her jacket tighter around her, reaches into her pocket, pulls out a folded napkin. It still smells faintly of the lavender detergent from Lawrence's house. Marion stirs a pot of oatmeal. One of the volunteers offered her a spot on the morning crew. She doesn't speak much, but her movements are methodical, mechanical. The radio plays quietly behind her. Then she hears something. Lawrence Waltz declines interviews after viral photo leak. Sources say he's withdrawn all public appearances since the incident. She stops stirring. Something stirs in her. She walks 2 blocks to the mailbox, pauses, looks at the envelope. It's addressed to Lawrence Waltz, C.O. Waltz Industries. She hesitates, then drops it in. His assistant knocks on the door with a plain white envelope. "No return address, sir?" Lawrence takes it, opens it. It's short, written in uneven handwriting. "I've never been good at trusting people, especially those who offered kindness. But you made me feel seen, not rescued, not fixed, just seen. And I panicked. I don't know what this means or what we are or what I'm supposed to feel, but I do know this. I'm tired of running. If you still want to be human, with me, come find me." No name signed. He didn't need one. She's wearing donated clothes, but holding her head higher than before. She stops to tie a little boy's shoelace on the sidewalk. He grins. She ruffles his hair. She keeps walking, eyes forward, but her chest is tight. Part of her wants to look behind her. He doesn't call out. He just watches her for a moment. This girl who once dug through his trash now lighting up the street like she belongs to it. And then he calls her name. She hears her name, spoken softly, but like it means something. She turns. Lawrence stands half a block away, raincoat slung over his arm, hair wind-tossed, eyes locked on hers. Neither of them moves at first. Then slowly. Marion walks toward him. Her heart pounds. His breath catches. They stop inches apart. She speaks first. "You found me." He nods. "I never stopped looking." Lawrence looks down at his hands, then back up. "I didn't want to fix you, Marion. I just wanted to know you. But I got scared too. Of how much I cared. Of how much I needed you to stay." She swallows hard. "You saw me at my lowest and didn't flinch. That messed with me. Because no one ever stuck around after seeing the ugly parts." A long pause, then softly. "But maybe I don't want to be invisible anymore." He reaches into his coat pocket, pulls out the napkin. Her napkin, the one she wrapped her grilled cheese in on the first night. "This has been on my desk every day since you left. I didn't know why I kept it at first, but now I think maybe I just didn't want to forget the night I met the most honest person I've ever known." She exhales, her eyes glassy. Then she whispers, "So what happens now?" Lawrence leans forward. "Now, you come home. if you want. She hesitates. And what if I don't fit in that world of yours? The suits and the security and the silk sheets? He smiles. Then we build a new one, with mismatched dishes and leftover soup and piano lessons at midnight, just you and me, no masks, no press, no pity. She lets out a shaky laugh. You're serious. Terrifyingly so. Marion sits at a piano teaching a group of kids to play. Their laughter fills the room. Lawrence watches from the doorway, arms crossed, smiling. She looks up, catches his eye. He mouths, "Proud of you." She mouths back, "Thank you." A passerby snaps a photo without asking. Marion flinches, but Lawrence squeezes her hand gently. Let them look. They don't know the story. She leans her head on his shoulder. But we do. A new girl crouches near the bin. Before she can dig, a warm voice calls out from behind, "Hey, are you hungry?" The girl turns. Marion stands there, holding a paper bag, just like the one Lawrence once gave her. And in that moment, the story comes full circle. Do you believe true love can survive even after being tested this hard? Let us know in the comments, and if this story touched you, subscribe. Because next week, someone else might find hope in the unlikeliest place.